See with my timing this week, but welcome to Leap Taken. I'm Nika. Here at Leap Taken, I talk all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And today we're going to be talking about demons. As I finish my drink, we're going to talk about the concept. And what sparked this is I've been reading a lot about fictional demons. Let me turn around and get situated with you guys. All right, let me totally get situated. Get the belly going. Anyway, yeah, seriously I wanted to talk about this because I wanted to talk about um how demons have been presented. Let me fix this right now. There we go. Anyway, how demons are being presented right now in, I want to say, more recent works of fiction, books, and actually a movie. And then we're going to get into a deeper topic. I have my handwritten notes, so I did things a little differently. So I have my handwritten notes, and I've got my Kindle, and we're going to get into it. But these are all about the K-pop Demon Hunter movie. I read a series by Kimberly, and it goes away. What's her name? Kimberly Fleming. Am I saying her name right? Kimberly Lemming. The first book was That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf. No, that's the other one. Sorry, that's book 2. Book 1 is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. Book 3 is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human. So, like, why these books? What am I talking about? What am I getting into? What I'm getting into is, there we go. Anyway, what I'm getting into is there's something to be said at how demons are being represented right now. So I want to start with K-pop Demon Hunters as the first breakdown, because I think that one is the one that is so deep. I think that one is like so super deep. So if you have no idea, there's a movie currently on Netflix, is animated. It's called K-pop Demon Hunters. And the movie starts, or essentially is about a trio, a girl group called Huntrix. So spoilers, but it's still worth going to go see. The group, they're an all-girl group, K-pop group called Huntrix. Huntrix, excuse me. The group is Mira. She's like the lead dancer. She's kind of considered the black sheep. She's got like a deeper voice. And then there's Zoe, a little bit more high-pitched voice. She's really cutesy. She's the rapper, and she's American, or was raised in America. And then there's Rumi. She's sort of like, supposedly her mother was what they called a sunlight sister, and she's like bona fide pop star. She was taken under the wing of their mentor when she was a little girl, when her mother was, we assume, we don't know too much, but she died. And spoiler, her daddy was a demon. So let's talk about what it is, because there's a lot of notes, and I'm going to get into it. The heart of all this is, what does it mean to be a demon? So in this storyline, to be a demon, you have these patterns, and they look like intricate tattoos all over them. Like you'll see it on their arms and on their body and everything, like, so very intricate, and they call them patterns. So that's how they know they're dealing with a demon, right? So then, or markings. So the interesting thing about Rumi, she's kind of the main vocalist, the best singer in the group. We never, she's not being controlled like other demons. So controlled by who? Being controlled by, what's his name? Guami. Guama. Gwima. To me, they're saying Guima or Gima. This is like a demon. A demon is basically looks like fire, like an element of fire, like just, yeah, like a wave of fire. That's what this demon is. And he controls every other demon. Except he can't control her. Apparently she's part demon. She was born that way. So let me tell you the thing that got me with this movie and why I want to talk about it. The demons issue is that they have shame. They have shame. That's the issue. So the demons have shame. Because the demons have shame, they can be controlled. So what's starting to happen is Rumi, who is hiding it from everybody, only their mentor knows what she is. She is hiding her true side. The song opens up with a song. They released a new single called Golden. Remember, they're supposed to be a K-pop group. So they released a new song, a single called Golden. And in there, she's like saying she doesn't want to hide anymore. She wants to be herself. Everybody kind of has their part, but that's hers. She wants to be like really seen for who she is. What I will say is this about this is, sorry, it's like popping up and then it goes away. I don't know what's happening. Anyway, I'm doing my best over here. What I find really interesting in the breakdown of this one is I feel like that, and it made me think about a lot of the people in my family, former friends and things like that, who to fully be in any of the Abrahamic religions, like the shame that comes, and I'm like, that comes from them truly believing, hi, for them truly believing that they're born in sin. To me, it's like the invisible markings, because to believe that is to believe less of yourself. Like from jump, they're saying you're born in sin, so you're a product of sin. And I couldn't help but think that as I watched this movie, and I was like, and so there's a character. What are you talking about? I'm just oh, sorry, I'm talking, I know, because I didn't make a thumbnail or anything. I'm talking about the movie K-pop Demon Hunters. It's an animated movie that just came out on Netflix like last Friday. And we're talking demons across the board, but I'm talking demons in a different way than how we normally talk about demons. It's not a biblical way. And I'm also going to reference in just a moment and kind of tie it in. You're welcome. And then I'm going to tie it into a book series that I was reading as well. Author is Kimberly Lemon, and she's talking about, like, all her books talks about demon, and I'm going to thread kind of point through all of this. So we're starting with K-pop Demon Hunters movie. So just to recap, there's a trio. It's an all-girl group called Huntrix. They're not just K-pop idols. They are hunters and they hunt demons. What I hadn't told you, because I kind of jumped right in, is their mission is to create something called the Hanmoon. Honmoon. The Hanmoon, the golden Hanmoon. They come from a long line of demon fighters. So this is like a really cool thing, by the way. And I'm not really an animated kind of film person, but I had to get into this. So anyway, they are, their mission is to do this golden Hanmoon. When they create this, it's this golden Hanmoon, which is only visible to them, no one else. Everybody else just thinks they're a fan. When they create this, they'll block off the demons for good. That it's like they're done with demons at that point, and the leader, or the main demon, so to speak, is this king called Guima, Gwima. So Guima is the head demon, and he needs souls. He wants to consume souls, and because of the Huntrix, each generation there's a group, and their voices, their songs, their music is what creates the Hanmoon, and their fans loving it and hearing it. It made me think a lot about the movie Sinners, because I thought about the griot. And I'm like, here we are again. I don't know. There's definitely a tie here, which, by the way, in Sinners, it was the Chinese people, and you would see, remember that the famous scene in Sinners where the music's playing at the juke joint, everybody's dancing, and you can see the generations, different generations, including other cultures, including Chinese culture, where people were dancing and singing to the music, and the different genres was happening. If you haven't seen Sinners, you don't know what I'm talking about, and you really should see it if you haven't seen it yet. But anyway, This to me is hearkening to that, because the music is what drives the demons away. It's the music, it's what they're singing, it's the music itself, but it's their voices. Rumi, who is the main vocalist for the group Huntrix, the Huntrix, um, she is starting in the very beginning of the movie losing her voice. None of the other girls in the group understand or know. The only person who knows her secret about who she really is and what's really going on with her is their mentor. And I didn't jot her name down, so I forgot her name. Anyway, but I believe she was also part of the Sunlight, yeah, what they call it, the Sunlight Sisters, like Rumi's mom, who was gone. So she was raised by their mentor. But the central theme with that is they were always taught to hide. That comes in the book series as well, to be put away, because she is so different and because she's aligned to something that they kill. They kill demons in this movie, by the way. That's the intention. They're trying to kill them. She's not supposed to let them see. They're not supposed to see her insecurities, her scars. Spoiler, that ties into the demon thing, by the way. So, heroes with voices to drive back darkness. That's something that they were saying. Music ignites the souls and brings people together. And the first hunters created a shield to protect the world. So the very first hunters created this shield. Again, the Hun Moon. The intention of this movie is the golden Hun Moon. Excuse me. And I'm doing a protein shake in the meantime. I'm trying to keep my thoughts together here on this because I tend, the tangents. So, while all this is going on, they have their mission, they're trying to do this. There is another demon, a very smart, very smart demon who is full of shame. Jinu. Jinu comes up to the king, Guima, and says, hey, he's a demon. Everybody's demons. They're in their demon. They're underground, so kind of like, they don't say hell, but they're underground. And he's like, hey, let's, I have a plan for us to get souls, for you to be fed, for us all to, be good. He comes up with this plan to become a K-pop boy group. It succeeds. The music in here is really fun, by the way. If you're into K-pop, it's really fun. And I am into K-pop, so it was super fun. So in the movie, they come out with a song and they have a performance. It's like a whole back and forth between Jinu and Rumi, who it looks like there's a love interest thing going on, like a romance moment, and it is. But Jinu is the one who exemplifies it in the movie the most and gets Rumi to understand, and then Jinu finds his way at the end, but he sold his soul, essentially, to Guima, so the devil, I guess, I don't know. He sold his soul because he wanted to get his family out of poverty, and he tells Rumi this story. What he doesn't tell is, yes, he's telling her, excuse me, yeah, we get to live in the palace, we got clean clothes, we eating good, they have the convenience of being, having money and having access. So he sold his soul for that. I'm giving spoilers, so sorry. What he didn't tell was the part that he actually didn't get his family out. He just sold his soul for himself. So he got to experience these luxuries. And then, his soul was forever belonging to Guima. The key to all this was shame. He had so much shame about that decision, about selling out his family, leaving them in poverty, not knowing whatever happened to them. That was the true shame. It wasn't the act of selling or because and the way Guima approached him was like, oh, you'll never do anything good enough to get yourself out of this poverty, coming to you like that. This movie really sparked something that I've kind of been talking about all this month, which is kind of putting yourself out there and quieting the voices of insecurity. So for Guima, or we're going to say the devil, to get your soul, you have to have shame. And this is where we're tying into the concept of sin and all that sort of stuff. That you're born into sin, that you are some sort of wretch, or that you have to, you're unclean, you're dirty. People really believe this. I talk to people, sadly. I mean, I'm related to them. And they truly hold these beliefs literally. They literally believe that they are nothing. Have you ever heard people talk about this type of stuff, like Christianity and things like that, or in any faith? Like, they was like, oh, they were saved, and it kind of made me think about this movie, the way Gino was talking, because he was like, he was really down on himself. But that was the thing. Once you are free of that, once you release your shame, it's a possibility, from what I got from this movie, that you wouldn't be a demon anymore. And to me, Gino kind of shows that at the end. My biggest takeaway was that basically it was two different things. One, if you believe in an afterlife, if you're willing to kind of think about an afterlife, I I I honestly believe, if you feel like you're a damned soul, if you feel like you're going to hell, if you feel like you've actually sold your soul to the devil, if you truly have bought into this and you're living, and you're as you lived your life and you meet your end, I think if those are your thoughts and that's what you believe, I think that's what you cast for yourself. I think that's what you've done. You'll suffer. I do believe that at some point, um, I don't know what the process is or the cycle or anything of that nature, and I think none of us will know until we're there. But I think that once you move on, there's like stages in the ancestral realm. Um, I've been told everyone doesn't become an ancestor. I haven't experienced ancestors in that capacity. I've only experienced them as a collective. And I don't know the time frame, and I don't even want to pretend to know what the time frame is, from death to what happens after that, to immediately after that, to when you're finally, considered an ancestor. I don't think we're supposed to know. I think it's going to be different depending on who you were and how you live your life. But I do wonder if there's that time, whatever that is, because I don't think time is a thing in the afterlife. But and I can only explain it in a human way, in my way. And I think that there's something that happens where, if that's what you think, that's what you're kind of plunged into. So if you think it's a hell, if you think you're going to be one with the demons, then so be it. I think our minds and our emotions are very powerful, and energy never dies, and it extends even when the vessel, even when the temple is no longer there. Does that make sense? I sound like I'm high. I'm not. I'm not. Not yet, anyway. No, I'm not. Anyway, so the demon boy group they create is called the Saja Boys. I don't know what SAJA. I don't know if that stands for something or means anything. I didn't look that up, but the Saja Boys. The problem is they're catchy. Their songs they create, and their whole purpose is to win their fans. They're trying to block the girls from creating the golden honeymoon. So to block them, you know what they do? They come out with a song to get the fans so they can steal their souls. And again, as someone who's into K-pop, it's not lost on me the power of music, the power of the artists, and how they're interacting with fans, and how that can relate to, again, back to kind of that griot thing. Like, their music is intoxicating, and it can have you kind of going into a trance. At one point, that everybody's into a trance because of them, and willingly, they're kind of giving up their souls. Popular music right now they're just talking about K-pop, but popular music as well. Now, we used to hear this like in church, and spiritual people like your grandma, maybe your mother, and they would say that music holds a certain vibration, or worldly music, secular music, and stuff like that. But it was from that Judeo-Christian kind of lens, and it was like, that's, demons are in it, it's demonic and all that other crap. Now, I'm not going to say that popular music is demonic or anything like that. I mean, I guess it can be if that's what the intention is. I do think that there are vibrations, not just the lyrics. Some music, when you put the beats together, the actual music itself, it elicits something. There's some music when I hear it, I was like, I feel like I don't like it. Something about in that sound I find offensive. I don't like it. It's a turn off to me. Um, that's not because I'm a practicing witch. That's not because I'm open to these things. I think a lot of people feel that way. The issue is that, I think a lot of people are just ignorant to why that is. Everything is a vibration. Everything really is spiritual. It's not all just, oh, well, that's not spiritual. That's just that. No, it's not about taste or preference or anything like that. There is something spiritual going on with those beats. And then throw the lyrics on there, depending on what you're saying. It's one of the reasons I struggle with a lot of the music that's been out for a while now, because I am aware. Take the witch part of it. I'm aware. Yeah, I'm aware. And I'm listening. And I don't want to repeat certain songs, lyrics, and sing that one. You know how the song gets stuck in your head and you just like singing a bridge or singing certain lyrics. I don't want to do that, because that's going to, a lot of it's negative. It's fun. The beat's fun, but I don't like it. I don't want to repeat that. I don't want to say that. There's a song, Felix from Stray Kids. I love Felix from Stray Kids. I love the song. I'm talking K-pop. And it's that song, his solo, My Life is So Unfair. Unfair is the song, like, and I like do it in his deep voice, and I'll be just like singing it, doing stuff around the house, and I'm like, I don't want to keep chanting My Life is So Unfair. You see what I'm saying? Like, so I don't do that. So instead I sing the other member, Hunjin's song, So Good. I'll sing that instead, because I want my life is so good. Life is so good. So I'll just sing that. But there's something to be said about the vibrations in music and things like that. And I think this movie kind of tapped into it. And it's the fact that the Demons made really good music as well. And there's something to be said for that. The girls try to come up with a song to defeat the group. Well, yeah. And it's basically really negative, the Demons. And it's really negative, and that's not the answer. And there's a whole, back and forth about that, and that kind of turns into something else. But that's not the way. That's not the way for them to fight, is to come up with more negativity. It's instead to kind of be truthful and lay it bare. There's a lot more that happens in this movie, but I sort of wanted to talk about why it even stood out to me, and why I thought it was worthy to come over here and talk about, because of the freaking demons and that concept. I thought it was such a cool concept. The shame is what is tied into the patterns, what they call the patterns on their arms and stuff like that. It's the shame. If they weren't in shame, if they deal with their shame, they could get past this whole demon thing. But a lot of people are not willing to deal with it. They feel like, they effed up in life, they made bad choices, so they're going to suffer. They're condemned to hell. Think about it. We know people. I used to think like that when I was younger. They had me too. They had me too. So now I want to switch gears about the books. So the books, especially the first one, That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. So all these books, they're all demons. And it's interesting because the demons in the books are really monsters. So it's werewolves, dragons, orcs, all kinds of stuff. But they're just called demons in the book series. Let me show you what it looks like. So here's the book cover. I'm trying to do this and not have too much of a glare. This is on my Kindle. Y'all see that? So this is the book series. And by the way, I got it because of the cover. I got it because of the cover, because why not? So that's the first one in the series. And here's the second one. That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf. So this is book 2. It's a series that doesn't take itself seriously at all. And this is the third one, which I was just finishing up, which is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human. It's called the Mead Mishap series, by the way, if you're curious. So the thing that I want to talk about in this one, because I was like, I'm reading a lot about demons. There was another series which I've already talked about, and they were talking about demons, and I was like, what is this? Is this like a thing lately? Like we're all coming up with stories about demons or something like that? Because I'm like, why am I reading so much about this? But I'm going to tell you, in here, book one kind of dispels everything. So in book one, um, the time I got drunk and saved a demon, there is a powerful witch who they assume was a goddess, controlling, supposedly protecting, the regulars, the normies, from the demons. It would be revealed that first of all, it was a powerful witch. It wasn't a goddess. One, two, she wasn't protecting them. She was enslaving them, mind control, the demons, that is, and then creating a scenario like a Hunger Games situation to send out the normies to fight these demons at the threshold, because like I think it was like 15 years, I forgot what it was, demons would escape and break the barrier and come in. But this was all orchestrated by this powerful witch who they assume was a goddess and their savior. And the demons were not necessarily bad people, or bad guys, or evil and all that sort of stuff. They have a range just like any other group of beings, where some are okay and some are not. Just like the normies. So the takeaway that you get from just like this world, that this fantasy world of these demons is, and of course they become some of them become love interests. But the takeaway from all of this is that the way we use the term demon, especially within my community, this community. Why are you saying to say that? Hold on. Let me see what you said. Apple? Why? Anyway, the thing that I got from all this is that the concept of demons really just is, to me, it's just like, okay, there's more to it than that. What? Hold on. I'm like, why is it when I'm on my computer, I see the chat and it goes away? You said, oh, okay. Is there something about me saying it that, why? What does it mean? Why? I don't know. Fill me in. Let me know. But anyway, the demons in the book, like once you take the fun out aspect and there are love interests and all that, and once you kind of remove from that, I just think about the fact that, like, it just had me thinking that what we've always been told, again, especially in my community, African American community, what we've been told about demons, what we've been told about, demonic and all that sort of stuff, was manipulated. It means nothing. It proves you are real and not pre-recorded. Oh, okay. No, no, it's me as I drink my drink. No, this is totally me live. I didn't know what that was. I don't know. I'm trying to make sure I don't get chia seeds in my teeth while I'm trying to talk to y'all. But anyway, these demons, the manipulation, that's what that series made me think about. Like how this she's an evil witch who gained a lot of power. It made her even more evil, and she needed to keep that power going. But she manipulated the normies. People like us would be normies, the humans. She manipulated us, assuming I'm in that world, to believe, that they were bad, and created all these fake scenarios that we had to go fight them. Which goes into something a little bit more deeper. It's gonna sound like I'm high, but stay with me. I'm not. I'm totally sober right now. But this whole idea, And I've had these conversations like within my coven, I've had these with other people. But the concept of who the Abrahamic God is, and that's with all the big three, the Jewish, Judaism, Christianity, and uh, the Muslim faith as well. Um, who they is a trick. I think it's a trickster God. I think it's a trickster being. I don't even want to say God, but I think it's a trickster being. I think over time, and we know, and it's only been in recent history, that the concept of a devil or Satan was created. A lot of people who are modern day people practicing, or people who have been practicing for some years, they don't know that the concept of Satan was created in the more recent history. Theologians have talked about that. I've listened to interviews, like not like sensationalized interviews, but supposedly trusted sources who sat down with priests who explained this. I don't think a lot of people understand the concept of art and how it even in recent and when I say recent times, I meant like what time frame am I talking about? When was Dante's Inferno created? I don't remember the year right now. I don't know. We did a whole thing years ago when we homeschooled. I can't remember. But in that time frame, when that art form was created, just like we have now, and I'm talking about movies like this, and you see how I'm tying it to other things, to spirituality, and this can have a lasting impact on my spirituality going forward. And maybe if you're watching this, something clicks and everything from this point forward changes. That was because humans are humans, and that was happening then as well. And it affected a lot of things, and people thought about the concept of hell and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of people don't realize, from works of fiction and art, they've created something that they wholeheartedly believe today. The imagery, including the way that they believe Jesus looks, including the clouds, and the clouds are actually solid, and that's where the heaven is. There are adults who really believe that today. So this trickster God, for lack of better words, in this Abrahamic religion has, to me, the followers of that, just like in the books and in that movie, has convinced people that there's this other, I think that there's this other opposing force, and for their salvation they have to come to them. But like, everything about it is so hypocritical and conflicting, that the holy text, which has been messed with by man. But if we're gonna play this game, well, let's say this trickster is influencing the people, the church, because I'm like, why is the rules always in the hands, over the years, centuries, of men, usually men who are European, making the rules and making the changes and the edits in their holy text? What religion you follow? I don't follow a religion at all. No. I am, for lack of better words, pagan. That would be the best thing I would say. I don't follow a religion. I'm a spiritual person. I practice what, for lack of better words, is considered witchcraft. Yeah, that's what I'm into. But anywho, I'm like, I've thought a lot about this whole trickster thing, and I'm like, to take it a step further, because if you look into who Loki is and things like that, and I'm like, if not Loki, why Loki shape? And I just feel like it's a bunch of people following around this trickster entity, and it's been happening for so long. I felt like it started off as a random joke, and it's just built into something else. And I even wonder if the trickster being is even dealing with the masses anymore. Did they move on to something else? And people are just kind of making it up. That's how I understand evangelical Christians in like white America. That's how I see like all the other different sects and things like that. They just start making stuff up at this point, because they've been abandoned by their God. That's why also I find it interesting as time has gone on. If you notice, you see a lot of people, younger adults, coming more into the pagan faiths. Whether, and I'm using pagan as a broad umbrella term, so that's going to be anything that's not of the Abrahamic religion. So like hoodoo, returning to hoodoo, nature-based spiritual systems. You see more people returning to that, and I think because some of the masses have been waking up. The church attendance is down. Most churches, especially amongst Black folk, they're still religious, but they're not necessarily going to the church anymore. I think it's dying out. It's definitely dying out. And what's shown to us now is supposedly the Christians and people who are into church. A lot of those people say, oh, the new church, like I see young adults saying, oh, the new church is, they just want money. They're doing too many secular things in it. I guess some people like it. I don't know, who's to say. But this just had me just thinking about all this sort of stuff, reading the 3 books that I just read in the last couple of weeks, and then watching this movie in a concept of demons, and how really it's just an inside job. If you feel like your soul is damned, it will be. But we know that as people who practice witchcraft, we know this as practitioners, occultists, spiritualists, right? You understand what you truly believe is what it will be. That's a hard concept for other people to understand and respect, because it's counter to everything else that's been told and that's been said, which is sort of like you're damned from the beginning, and you have to spend your lifetime proving your worth to this deity, which to me that's like trickster energy right there. But kind of like the demon and the Guima in K-pop Demon Hunters. The whole point was like it was just basically mind control. As long as you, and here's the thing, he's not necessarily doing it, you're doing it. Your belief in this stuff, your belief that you have shame, and it's a stain, the patterns, the markings on your body, it's visible, of your shame. And it made me question myself, like, are you holding on to some stuff, some shame or things like that? The good thing for me is, one, I'm a fan of therapy. Two, and at different aspects of my life, I've sought therapy to kind of, the things that would have brought me there, I got help with. I have a beautiful, supportive network of people who really love me, mostly women. So a lot of that nurturing female energy, but also strong, energy, powerful female. Some of them who have that warrior energy as well, which I need. I need that well-rounded type energy for support with me. So yeah, I go to them, and I've had this for years, so I can kind of talk it out, including my coven as well, and we can kind of work through and talk things out. So yeah, I don't think I have any of that. I mean, I think about that like shame. Yeah, I don't, no. I don't have anything I feel like I have shame over. I mean, I really kind of went on a deep dive. I've watched the movie about a week ago, and I watched it again and kind of refreshed my memory about the movie earlier. But it does make me think about that, and I don't, and I'm glad, because I don't want to walk around thinking that. It took me so long to even release the concept of sin. That has done a number on people, and just the guilt and shame, because they go together, that come with that. And this movie just showed, like, if you're willing to release that, yes, you made bad decisions, you made selfish decisions, you made decisions that you regretted, but you need to come to terms with it so that your soul could be at peace, including in your living life and in your afterlife. But anyway, this is what I kind of wanted to talk about, and it just seems like really all over the place and random, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time with the notes. Hello, I'll have to catch the replay topic. Oh, this went away so fast I couldn't see it. Sorry, I'm trying to read your comment, Insky. it is interesting. It's deeper. It's fun. It is animated. So and it's PG-13, I guess. I guess it could get a little scary with the demons and the faces and stuff like that. But it wasn't that scary. But it's deeper. Which, have you noticed a lot of animated movies and things like that? There's a deeper, something deeper going on than what they're talking about. Um, but yeah, that message it's crazy. And in the end, I won't give that away because I don't want to give too many spoilers away. But the end was surprising because they were building up to a supposed love, romance, interest type thing, and I was genuinely shocked. And this is why I was like, oh, this movie really has all the layers. The movie is beautifully animated. It is beautifully animated. Oh my gosh. That was another thing. I was like, dang, like it's, excuse me, crispness, the way it was presented, and you could get lost in it and you're not thinking, oh, I'm watching animation. It just felt like a movie, and I got deep into it. Central themes also, not hiding who you really are, which ties into the whole demon thing. Rumi, the person who was born part demon, that's something that was kind of the aha moment, which came just in the nick of time at the end, is to stop hiding who she really was. She had these marks on her. The marks on her, which basically were marks of shame, but she was born into it, which had me thinking about the sin thing, being born, into sin and all that sort of stuff. Because she was born, one of her parents was that way. And it, again, another just path lightened up in my head where I was like, well, shoot, there are people, because of who they were born to, have this shame associated with them as well, because who their parents were or the decisions that their parents made and things like that. And here's the thing, that could even be the decisions that kept your family in poverty, the decisions that kept your family financially in a financial instability. And a lot of people have shame about that. So in this movie, if you were someone like that, and then you heard this this slick voice coming saying, I can fix this for you, I can help you, that would be the leader of the demons, the king of the demons, coming to you saying, I can fix this. One, he only would come to you if you felt like, if you were already feeling those negative feelings anyway. That's why he comes to you. You're already feeling like it's all my fault. Look at me. That was the opening, by the way, for this demon to come in, the king of demons to come in, is because these people were talking down on themselves. They believed that they were the cause or the effect of, whatever the negativity was that was happening, which was also kind of a big takeaway as well, to kind of bring it all down to something a little bit more that maybe you can understand even more. That little voice in your head that's telling you you can't do something, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, that's why you didn't get chose, or you deserve whatever is happening to you, whatever that nasty voice is that tells you that. To me, that's kind of what the king of demons is just that internal monologue, that internal voice that is telling you negative things, that the negative self-talk. If you let that voice, if you let that energy vocalize and have a presence, you're selling your soul. You're giving up your soul. You're giving up your spark. You're not being who you really are. And that was the takeaway from it. From the series, the book series, those who are powerful, who are different, the demons, the monsters, the whether it's the dragons or the werewolves and so forth, there's a smear campaign going to convince the masses that those who have power are dangerous innately. Those with magic are the demons. They're the monsters. They're bad, and we have to keep them at bay and not with the rest of society. And that sounds very familiar. That sounds very familiar, right? So yeah, that was my takeaway from that one as well. So one, control your inner dialogue, that voice, the voices that tell you what you can't do, that tells you you're not good enough, that is obstructing you shining and you being who you are. And also being cognizant that there is a ongoing negative campaign against those of us in society who they call demonic. I've been recently called demonic this year by people I'm share a bloodline with, and no one defended me at all. So that was, I've experienced that myself. So to be called demonic, a lot of times it's fear, it's control, and it's envy. That's what that is. So that could be translated to a bunch of things. Again, those who live on the fringe of society, those who don't show up and present to the world as what is considered normal. Um, there's a power in that, and that freaks people out. And the assumption is, well, if you're going to live your life, if you're going to put it all out on the line like that, you're dangerous. And danger, for some people, they believe the danger is actually violence, which is crazy. And they're always the ones who enact the violence. That's the weird part. They're being preemptive on something. But again, that's their internal voice telling them that. Or they're afraid that it might spark others to be, excuse me, who they really are, and to express themselves and show up in their full power as well. Now, we can't have that, can we? We can't have people believing that from the moment they're born that they have value. So yeah, it was an animated movie. Yeah, it's a book series that had a lot of smut in it. By the way, these are definitely romanticies, just full disclosure. But there's a deeper takeaway. It pays to step out of genres that you're not always in. It pays to read and read a vast amount. I read nonfiction. I read different types of fiction. My favorite types of fiction is actually cozy mysteries, anything in the paranormal realm. But I've recently been opening myself up to romantic fantasy. I got these gnats. This ends this weekend. I got to deal with this anyway, because they're like everywhere and they get real disrespectful right in your eyes. So one of them got in between my glasses and my eye. I'm like, why? But anyway, yeah, this is kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit. Kind of rambly, like not as practice out and with all my notes and things like that. But I did want to talk about it because I thought this was a message that somebody might wanted to have this week if you were kind of struggling with that, especially based on what I talked about on Wednesday in Wednesday's live. I mean, I remember, just to kind of personalize this, I remember years ago, I got into a conversation with someone who was a friend at the time, and they questioned about how I was gonna wear my hair, and how I was gonna wear my hair to go to this start this new job. Now I had already interviewed for the job, and I got the job, and they were asking me about like my hair, and my hair was in its. I didn't have locks at the time. I was natural, my loose natural curly hair, and they were like, well, and I had and it was short, so I just I was doing rocking a TWA at the time, and I dyed it blonde on top of it. So, and they were saying, oh, you're gonna wear your hair, aren't you gonna do something with your hair? And they wanted me to wear a wig or something like that. There's power in my hair. There's power in whatever is naturally happening for me. There's power, and if I choose to enhance it, which I added color to it, I'm there's even more power in that. So I said no. I'm not. I'm gonna wear it the way it was, and they seemed slightly disturbed by that revelation, by the way, because to them that meant like, oh, you're messing. You don't understand. You're gonna mess things up for yourself. You can't present that way. And I worked that job for years, by the way. It was an international company. I remember they were based out of Canada. They flew me out, saw me in person with my natural hair. I had never put a wig on the whole entire time I worked with them. I came through as is. Um, and I was, for as far as I know, considered a valuable team member of the team, and I never felt like my hair was an issue. But like in a more mundane sense, this I bring this example up because there's a lot of people truly believe like you have to, even now, and this was years ago, but it's still modern times, that we have to dim and shroud and cover now just to bring and not show who we really are, because when you show up as who you really are, there's power exuding from you, there's power in like coming off of you. Which regardless, as humans, I think that's true for all of us. There's an energy signature that we all have. um Now, I'm also somebody who practices glamour magic, love magic, and all that sort of stuff. And I bring glamour and love up together because when you love, well, more about that later. But anyway, so I like makeup and changing colors, and even wearing your hair in a different texture. So if you're curly, you straighten it, and vice versa. If you want to add hair in or something like that, yeah, it's all part of the glamour or whatever you're doing. I don't have an issue with playing around with stuff like that. I don't think that if you can't go out the house as who you are, because you don't think you're going to be accepted, or yeah, then that's it. It's not about the glamour no more. There's something else going on. There's something else, but that's another conversation about that. Um, and I can even say, I know back in my time when I was younger, people were really into the colored contacts. There's some people, I watched some personally. Some people struggle with that because, like, once they start and they like having them, and then they wear them all the time, and it's like, do you even want to wear these anymore, or do you feel like you can't because you feel like this is the only way you're considered attractive anymore? It's kind of thing with the hair, and I know for makeup and things like that. Again, I changed my hair. I like to wear makeup, so it's not an issue with that. Just to be clear, I'm not calling that into question, but I felt like I could come in as who I was and bring all of me into it. And there are people who I realize struggle with that, and it's an internal thing, and they don't show up that way. Um, and I think back to the concept of the way the demons are presented, especially in that movie. If you think like this, it's like you're just creating that shame. You're feeding that shame, and you're feeding that monster, the Guima, the king of the demons. You're feeding the Guima. You're feeding it with your shame. What if you could just face things? Again, it's not, you shouldn't feel shame that you even feel this way. Just address it. And it's an ongoing thing, and that's where shadow work and things like that come into play. That's where maybe therapy comes into play. That's where maybe having a responsible mentor, because in the movie they did have a mentor. She was just telling them wrong. There is a showdown with that, but I don't want to give too much of that away. But yeah, she was telling them to hide flaws and insecurities and don't let anybody ever see this side of you that's not polished and perfect, which also feeds into the whole K-pop industry. But that's, to me, on a just surface level, they were telling you a lot with that as well, because they're very polished and put together. The dance moves are sharp. If you believe it's cultural appropriation, you're probably right. Except please understand that they go the work ethic is off the charts, because it has to be perfect every time, and even if it's not, make it look like it was on purpose. It's feeding the shame and making it show. Okay, and it went away before I could finish reading it. Here we go. She said it's feeding the shame and making it show. Example, demon marks. Yup, that people will eventually use. Yeah, yeah, the marks for sure are just like you're showing that you have shame. That they said that in the movie as well. The markings, which look at these intricate tattoos, these patterns on your skin, shows that you have shame. And that's what it's about. So, if you could just kind of face it, maybe the marks will go away. Um, I think that some people, their shame is shown. Controversial, but I think for like women who get a lot of like they do start working on the face with the Botox and the little nip tuck. Listen, I'm getting older. I get it. If you don't think I see and I'm like, I like a little nip tuck, the little fixing here and there. Who doesn't? Who After a while, I'm part of society. I think about these things too. But I think for those, and I've had means to do it. I've been in I lived in Florida. I lived in South Florida. I've been with some ladies, and it was like a Botox party, so I could have definitely had it done. Um, so it wasn't about access; it was more about just personal decisions. I didn't want that. I just couldn't conceptualize why. Where am I putting it? Like, this doesn't bother me anyway. But now, years later, I can see maybe a little something, under the eye, a little, tuck, a little lift, a little something like that. But it's all just in my head. I haven't, I don't think I'll actually go through with any of this sort of stuff. But anyway, for those who kind of do go through with it, and they do a lot, like you ever see some people that they've enlarged their mouth, they've done all these things, they're wearing it, and they're wearing, to me, this is evidence, like the markings of your insecurities. This works for some men who the type that argue with women, like over, like women they don't even know, like, so like if if they say something to you and you're like, oh no thank you, if you gently reject them, they go off and go crazy. um that is them wearing their patterns, wearing it, their insecurities of not being chosen, of rejection, and their issues and their unhealed trauma. It comes out, and it comes out with their what they're saying, what they're doing. But to me, it's kind of like their pattern showing. um so yeah, you can liken this to stuff that's happening for like in our everyday life. We come across people like that. um I mean, you can do something about it though. I was talking to my mom recently, and she had made a offhand comment like, oh, aren't we all, we all got something wrong with us. And I said possibly, but some of us like to do something about it. Some of us don't want to stay in the space of unhealed, and you know some of us want to do something different. We don't want to stay in that space. We don't want to just chalk it up to nobody's perfect and this is who we are. I'm just this flawed individual, and I think it's danger in thinking that way. I prefer to think of myself as powerful. I prefer to think of myself as someone who can make change, who can who can manipulate energy and make change, hence a witch. I prefer to think of myself as someone who always has an opportunity to do something different. As long as I draw breath, I can view things differently. That's why I'm open to new things, and dealing, and I think it helps being around younger people as well, and older people, to kind of get the best of both worlds. As long as my generation, I'm around a lot of people my age as well. But diversity, which that's a whole other thing. People are in this country, this is a bad word. Diversity, equity, and inclusion has become negative. To be awake, to be woke is negative. Isn't that crazy? This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like, these movies are just like an example, an exaggerated example of that. But like, this is like they're already under the spell. They're already in the trance of kind of like, Guima. That's what I feel like the people are. They're in this spell, they're in this trance. And all the things that are shameful, like they are feeding the demon. And in the movie, it was basically masses of people that this energy. So I feel like that's the case now. That, like, it's just reflecting what's really happening in real life. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to talk about this. And I should have did better with organizing my notes. So sorry for my tangents, and uh, it seems like I was like random and a little all over the place. But yeah, this is why when I do these lives, I am a little bit more meticulous about my notes because like I'm kind of all over the place a little bit sometimes. Blame it on the perimenopause. It gets you brain fog and stuff like that. So like you're mid sentence and you lose your point. Not the most fun thing about it. But I'm gonna go ahead and go. But I wanted to talk about this. I just want to, yeah. I said I wanted to talk about demons, but I wouldn't talk about it in a way where it's like biblical demons, and I wasn't gonna talk about demonology. I kind of wanted to talk about it from a high level concept and how these pop culture is basically taking demons and using them in media in ways and making you think about it in ways that maybe you hadn't thought about it before. Everything from in the book series, how the demons are love interests and how there's been a smear campaign, all because of a power hungry being. Um, yeah. And so they needed to create this world where demons were bad. All demons were bad. And then from the K-pop Demon Hunter movie to to be a demon to feed the king of demons your soul, to even invite that in, you have to have shame, and it has to be deep, deep shame that you're not willing to deal with. So those are the takeaways, and I just wanted to talk about it. So thank you for watching. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share, hit the join button to join Leap Taken membership. There's some great perks, and you get member-only content. Also, I have a second YouTube channel called Magical Lifestyle of the Cottage Witch. So I post there somewhat about twice a month or so at this point, especially during the summer. And head to my website, leaptaken.com. You can check out services that I offer. I offer readings. I do monthly, well, I can't talk, monthly moon readings. They're customized just for you. So that's a subscription. Check that out. And I also offer readings as well. And I do have a service called Ask a Witch. So that's where it can be about a reading. But if you're a practitioner and you would like some help with a spell, ritual, or something magical related, I can help you with that as well. All right. And yeah, go to my website as well. You can check out the books that I offer. I have created Books of Shadows, Book of Shadows for the Love Witch, Book of Shadows for the Hearth Witch, and a Hoodoo Grimoire. They're also available at Amazon and on the TikTok shop. All right, now I'm done with all the selling stuff. All right, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. And yeah, bye.